So here's what you didn't see last weekend.
That part didn't sound as good. Snap the track bar.
There's nothing you can do about it. So we're just gonna have to
Might as well sell the truck.
No, I lost. First, I heard the snap, and I thought I bellied out on something at first. I thought I just hit a skid plate, and then I got out and I was like, maybe it's a drive shaft. Drive shaft was fine. Felt like it was running front drive. I had power to this one, not on the other side though. And then, yeah, and then I tried to rally it out basically in front drive, and it went into clankety clank loud noise mode. Now I have no drive, and snap hand hard bar, and I touched the center drive shaft and it was wobbling. So.
Let's review our last wheeling adventure. As you see behind me, we have Adam's truck from G-Wagen here, the 2015 G550, and it's in many pieces. Adam decided to go on the most difficult hardcore lines he could, and it was slick out, and we incurred a little bit of damage. So when you have a 6,000-pound truck that has a lot of inertia, it's trying to go up some slick rocks, everything, all four wheels are locked and spinning, and it comes down, and one wheel comes to an abrupt stop. It's a lot of inertia. It broke some parts, to say the least. So right now we've got the rear axle apart because we have a broken rear axle shaft. Now what you also don't see is we also have a broken front axle shaft. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this is the driver's side axle shaft that broke, and here's an example of the broken axle shaft and the non-broken axle shaft. This is actually out of a donor truck that we're gonna put into this, but this is the one that came out of his truck. And you see it's missing something here. It's not quite like the other one. So this slug is actually still inside the tube, but being as I was able to get another driver's side axle shaft, we're gonna swap over the backing plates because the ABS sensors and all that fun business is a little bit different, but fortunately we have a replacement. But this told me it sheared clean off. So very, very interesting. It's a lot of force on this. Our challenge comes into play. We've got the line on it. You can see it's deep inside the tube there. We're having some difficulty getting it out. Some people are gonna say, well, just get a magnet and pull it out. We've tried that. And yes, we've got the rare earth magnets and it didn't work. Some people say drill it and thread it. Yeah, we've tried that. And because it drills so easily and threads easily because it's hard material, having a little bit of a hard time. We actually closed up the covers on this and we tried to pressurize it with air to railgun the slug out, and it didn't work. So my theory is that even that piece is twisted a little bit because it's stuck in the locker cage and the carrier, and hence I can't remove the carrier to push it out. So more to come on this here in just a minute. So there's a couple of other things that came into play. You're also going to notice we have a broken track bar. This is a two-piece unit that, for lack of better words, just sheared off. Now, we've been having problems with these loosening up over time. We got in touch with Eurowise, and they're sending us an updated unit with different lock washers on it, because we actually had to tack weld this, but it didn't break at the weld. It actually broke at the threaded portion here. So well, that's an interesting break. This actually happened as we were dragging it off the trail of all things. So it was an interesting day, to say the least. So that's what's going on back here. We're going to get back into this weekend when we have a little bit more time, figure out how we're going to extract the slug. We're going to double check the axle, make sure it's straight, not bent. We don't have any other issues. But this is interesting. Now, I also want to preface with, this is not normal. This is what happens when you push things to the absolute limit and you're completely disobeying all the laws of physics and science, and this is what happens. And this is the passenger side axle. It's still in good shape. We're probably going to have it checked to make sure that there's nothing going on here as well. just to give you a visual reference. Moving along to the front. Not a whole lot is going on here, but what we did know when we drained all the fluid here is we got a lot of metal. We can't really see it, but there's a lot of metal soup in here. You can kind of see the discoloration that's going on there, but that's a bunch of metal that's in there. We also broke a front axle shaft, and because we like a challenge, we're facing the same situation. It's broken right behind the lock mechanism there, so we had to extract everything. We decided to leave the front alone for now because we'll tackle that here in just a bit, but so we've got 2 broken axle shafts. Hence the reason this truck had to be drug off the trail. What you won't see in the video is when this thing broke, we had to winch it up and over that final obstacle, and then we had to tow it all the way back around the bypass, which is just as difficult, back down to the parking lot. We went back later that day and got out the trailer. So this truck's led a rough, short life on that trail, but to be fair, we did push it to its very limit. We took it up all the obstacles we were not supposed to take it up, and we found the weak points. So anyway, with that being said, we're looking at options of how to improve and how to mitigate this so it does not happen again in the future. So you may have a teaser, an illusion of something that's going to change on this truck immediately, but there's going to be some other changes coming down the pipeline for this truck. I'm curious to know what you all would do in this situation to mitigate this sort of breakage. Would it be portals? Would it be getting rid of these axles and going to Dana 60s? Would it be putting on Volvo Unimog axles? Would it be, who knows? I'd love to know your thoughts. But there's a lot of changes coming down the pipeline for this truck that's going to be really interesting. So stay tuned on that. Proper winch selection is very, very important with your off-road build. Some people may ask, like, I don't really need a winch. Why do I need that? I'm not really going to use it. You don't ever need a winch until you need a winch. You're going to find yourself invariably at some situation where your truck breaks, something breaks, or somebody breaks down, and you're going to have to tow them out. This is where it's really important to have everything sized appropriately. For our G-Wagen builds, we always spec a 10,000-pound winch. Even though the truck only weighs 6,000 pounds, you always want to use a 1.2 to 1.3 multiplier of the actual truck weight to come up with your pulling capacity for the winch. Hence the reason a 10,000-pound winch is the sweet spot for these. Case in point, this last off-road adventure, we had to winch not 1, but 2 vehicles. Lots of good footage here. Check this out. Okay, so something decided to let go all the way, and we have no more forward momentum. So I think we had a broken T-case or a broken axle. We're going to figure this out. This is all part of the adventure of figuring out where the weak spots are. This is why we do what we do. And we're going to go back to the house, get the shop truck dually and the flatbed trailer. We're going to be making a couple trips this afternoon, apparently. This is why we use synthetic winch cable on all of our builds, because this stuff is lightweight and it doesn't carry the kinetic energy if it were to snap. The other thing is, these little sleeves that come factory in all the winches, it's there to protect it so you don't chafe your rope on rocks. That's why we set it down the way we did. So in this case, because it's a 6,000-pound rig, fully loaded, you can only winch it for a little bit of time before the winch gets warm, so we let it cool down. Again, always bring gloves when on joyride because you never know what you got to do. You want to try that? Okay, take up slack. So as you can see in that video, we used a lot of different things, but one of the things we wanted, how rude. One of the things we wanted to emphasize here was there's a sleeve on all the winch cables, and this is it's like a nylon Kevlar sleeve. And this is meant to be an abrasion resistant sleeve. It's always at the end, but it's meant to slide up and down the winch cable. And this is strictly to act as a smooth sliding surface if it's over rocks, debris, so you don't chafe your winch cable. Doesn't take long, but the other thing, pause. Now that we're done being so rudely interrupted, the other thing we always emphasize is you want to have a nylon rope, not a metal rope. Because what you saw in the video is we were manhandling this. I was wearing gloves, but you can touch this with your bare hands. You don't have to worry about getting splinters or getting caught and cutting your hand. That's really, really important. The other thing is these ropes are non-kinetic. And what that means in the simplest form is they don't stretch. You can pull them tight, and if something were to cut it, it's not going to spring back and cut somebody in half, for lack of better words. It'll simply just drop to the ground because it does not retain the energy. So that's really important from a safety aspect too. The other reason we like these ropes is they're substantially lighter. It pulls about 50, 60 pounds off the front of the winch and off the front of the truck, so it's just a better place to be overall. The downside of these is they don't last forever. A steel cable in theory will last until it rusts out. These only last a few years, and you're gonna know when they're worn out just because they'll start to dust out and they'll kind of fall apart on you. So you usually get 5 to 10 years out of these depending upon conditions, and then you got to replace them, but they're pretty cheap. So winching is important. This is one of those things that should be part of your arsenal, especially if you're going to do wheeling alone and not with a buddy system or not with another vehicle, as this is one of your get out of jail free cards. If you're stuck somewhere or you need to get home, you can always wrap this around a tree, use a tree saver or a rock, or dig a hole and bury your spare tire, and it'll help get you out of a very sticky situation and get you back home again. Or, heaven forbid, you break down and you need to get towed out. This is one way to do it. But case in point, this has got G-Wagen Overlanding's new front bumper on there. Just wanted to show it. It held up great, being as we were able to drag this entire truck up and over the obstacle at a damn near vertical angle. It didn't flinch, didn't flex, worked really, really well, and I was actually super impressed with it. So we offer these as well, and we install these, and one of these is going on our next build coming up here shortly. So I just want to take a minute to show you guys. So Adam's truck wasn't the only one that took a little bit of carnage. This one also suffered a little bit of a body damage situation. We lost a fender flare and we lost a bumper. They're sacrificial anyway, they're plastic. We fully intended on redoing these anyway. We're gonna do a tubular aluminum flare setup and a tubular steel bumper setup as well. But just goes to show you, if you really get it at a severe angle and you start sucking up rocks and debris, you're gonna break stuff. It's not the end of the world. We actually have a really super cool solution to fix this that I think everyone's gonna really like, because it really adds to the roughness and ruggedness of these trucks and the way they look, and they're gonna be super functional. You can basically step on them. So stay tuned on that one. Other than that, this truck fared pretty well. We did bottom it out a couple times on our rock sliders, which we had. This is our first iteration. These still aren't painted. These are later in the week, but we did hit it a couple times, and they're still straight, still solid. They did their job. We are gonna add a, what do you call it? The step bar on there, because they are slippery, and you definitely need a step bar on these. It just makes life a whole lot nicer. And so I'm glad we put these on there to test them. More to follow on that. We are gonna do a full skid plate as well. Aside from that, coming around to the front, it did fairly well. Didn't really have any issues other than this side went in. There was a couple obstacles where we had a little bit of an approach angle issue, and it looks a lot worse than it is. This is plastic, so don't get too excited there. What's interesting is this is actually a product that's available from overseas, our German counterpart, and it is very, very thin. It's paper thin aluminum almost. So I was actually a little disappointed with how it held up, or lack of how it didn't hold up really. And it just tells us right off the bat that we're gonna have to make something a whole heck of a lot better for these trucks, especially here in the US, if we wanna take these things and actually off-road them and use them, and if you intend to go over anything a little thicker than a brush. So stay tuned, there's a lot of good stuff happening on this. We're gonna completely redo the front of this truck, and there's suspension coming down the pipeline for it as well. There's actually two get out of jail free cards. One is your winch, and you'll recognize this vehicle. This one actually winched up the vehicles that were broken down below in the video, and it just happened to be this one went first, and we couldn't get anything up above it, so that's why this one had to play wincher. This was the anchor point, but this one also has a Warren 10,000-pound winch. This one we usually don't have a hook on it, because we usually run a soft shackle through it. I think it's actually inside. There's always all sorts of different shackles you want to keep in your toolkit based off if you're winching off a tree, another vehicle, rock, etc. But again, it's got the rope on there. The number 2 item, or you can flip-flop these in your toolkit, is Max Tracks. These are invaluable as a get-out-of-jail-free card. And they're up here on top. These are not just for looks. These get used. In fact, there's teeth missing off of these because they have been used numerous times. But these work great. They bridge gaps. They'll get you out of sand. They'll get you out of snow. If you're by yourself and you're stuck and you just can't get traction, throw those down. You'll be amazed at what you can get out of. What we have found is equipping our vehicles with a winch, Max Tracks, proper tires, obviously onboard air lockers and whatnot. You can get out of just about anything by yourself without needing further assistance. Hence the video.